Your rotors probably aren't warped. That judder you feel? It's often uneven pad deposits baked on by your braking habits. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how to read the color, grooves, and thickness marks on your rotors, and how to fix the problem without buying new parts. We'll do a forensic breakdown of overheated, glazed, and rusted rotors, then use simple tests, thickness spec checks, and vibration clues to tell if they're truly bad or just dirty. Keep watching to learn the quick actions that stop the damage before it turns expensive. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. If most warped rotors aren't actually bent, what is your steering wheel trying to tell you? That shake under light braking is usually your pads riding over tiny high and low spots. Not a bent disc, an uneven layer of pad material baked onto the rotor. When friction varies every few inches, the caliper clamps harder and softer in a rhythm, and you feel it as a pulse. Here's the core idea. Disc thickness variation and an uneven friction layer create the sensation people call warp. DTV can be only a few 10,000ths of an inch and still annoy you. The rotor doesn't need to look like a potato chip to misbehave. If one sector has a bit more pad film than its neighbor, the coefficient of friction spikes there, and that section grabs. Rotate to a cleaner patch, and the grip drops. Repeat that every revolution at speed, and the vibration seems dramatic. Now the conflict. Drivers swear a single highway panic stop ruined everything overnight. Technicians spin the rotor, find runout and hub face that look fine, and scratch their heads while the car still shudders. Both experiences can be true. The hard stop drove the pads past their comfort zone, smeared resin in streaks, and left a patchy film. The disc stayed flat enough to pass a simple runout check, but the friction map changed, so the pedal tells a different story. You can read that story in the surface. A light gray, mirror-like sheen points to glazing, pad material polished by heat, usually even and not very aggressive. Blue heat spots mean the surface saw higher temperatures in zones, often near where the pad sweeps. Shallow swirl marks from normal use are fine. Deep, straight scoring that you can catch with a fingernail hints at hard debris or metal-on-metal contact and needs closer inspection. Faint tiger striping patterns line up with pad transfer. Heavy streaks that look smeared show poor release at high temperature. Think about that Reddit track day STI everyone talks about. Street pads, a few hard laps, big speed into heavy braking, and the rotors came back with blue patches and dark streaks. The iron likely stayed dimensionally sound because iron handles short heat spikes well. The friction layer did not. Those pads ran out of temperature headroom, the binder softened, and the rotor got an uneven coat that now scrubs with every stop. The chemistry is simple. Pads use resins and other compounds to hold abrasives together. Get them hot beyond their working range, and those ingredients go tacky. They smear onto the disc in patches. On the next stop, those micro-high spots heat up faster than the rest, cure harder, and build a virtuous or vicious cycle of rebaking. That's why the pulse often grows even if the metal isn't physically distorted. Before you buy parts, try 2 quick field tests. Draw a light pencil grid across the rotor face. After a few medium stops to a near halt, check if the grid fades evenly. Patchy erasure hints at uneven deposits. Then perform a controlled bed-in. A series of moderate decelerations from a safe speed without coming to a full stop, letting air cool the brakes between cycles. If the judder softens, you're evening the film. If the surface looks glazed, a mild non-directional scuff with 120 to 150 grit on a block can refresh it. Keep dust out of your lungs, support the car safely, and avoid cutting grooves. Don't let color alone scare you. A blue rotor can still be serviceable if pedal feel is smooth and thickness checks out. No deep grooves, no pulsation, and within spec often means you can save it with rebedding. Next, let's put numbers to it. How to measure thickness the right way, spot rust that actually matters, and know when a single cut or a replacement makes more sense. Your rotor might look rough, but one number decides its fate: minimum thickness. Do you know it? That single spec tells you if the disc can safely manage heat and clamping force, or if every stop is pushing it toward fade and vibration. You can't eyeball it. You have to measure. Rotors carry two important specs: minimum thickness and discard thickness. Automakers often stamp the minimum on the hat or list it in the service manual. Modern rotors are lighter to save weight and cost, which leaves very little extra material from new to worn out. That means machining room is tight. If you take a cut, you might land right on the edge or below the safe limit, and a rotor that thin can't buffer heat or keep the pad face stable under pressure. That's why numbers matter more than looks. Here's where the tug-of-war starts. Drivers want to turn rotors to smooth the surface and save money. Machinists push back because one pass on a modern disc can erase your margin. You might leave the shop with a mirror finish that feels great for a week, then the pedal starts to pulse as the hotter, thinner rotor cooks pad resins and builds uneven deposits again. You didn't fix the root problem, and you lost the heat capacity you had left. Grab a micrometer that reads to at least 0.01 millimeter, or 0.0005 inches. Measure near the outer edge of the braking surface, not on the lip, and avoid rust ridges. Take readings at multiple clock positions, 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock, and do both faces if you can access them. You're hunting for two things: the absolute number versus minimum thickness, and variation around the circle. If you see a swing of a few 10,000ths between positions, that's DTV in real numbers. Compare your lowest reading to the stamped or manual listed spec. If you're at or under, it's done. Now rust. A brown line on the rotor's outer edge is normal, especially where the pad doesn't sweep. That's cosmetic. What matters is the ring where the pad actually works. Light, uniform surface rust after rain will clear with a few normal stops. Deep pitting on the sweep area, chunky scale that flakes, or orange blooms creeping under the pad arc reduce contact area. Less contact means pressure concentrates on the remaining high spots. Those zones run hotter, and hot spots feed judder and deposit streaks you feel in the pedal. Resurfacing versus replacement comes down to material left and the rotor's design. Older, heavier rotors tolerated a light cut. Many modern rotors start closer to the limit, and cutting them can invite heat checking. Tiny surface cracks that grow with thermal cycling. Drilled or slotted rotors are even more sensitive. Cuts can create stress risers at the holes or edges where cracks begin. Sometimes a clean new rotor is cheaper insurance than a perfect-looking but too thin disc. Understand the fade chain. Thinner rotors soak up less heat, so temperatures rise faster. As heat climbs, brake fluid approaches its boiling point sooner, forming bubbles that compress and soften the pedal. At the same time, pad binders overheat, smear, and restart the uneven deposit cycle. You feel all of it as a softer pedal and a sharper pulse. Use a simple decision path. If any position measures under minimum thickness, or the braking surface shows deep scoring you can catch with a nail or pitting where the pad rides, replace. If thickness is in spec and the surface has only minor grooves or a light glaze, deglaze with a non-directional scuff, then rebed the pads to rebuild an even film. Now that you can decide with numbers instead of guesses, protect that fresh surface for the long haul with the two levers most people ignore: fluid selection and the way you use the pedal under heat. Rotor health is a system. Pads need the right compound for your heat. Rotors need adequate thickness to soak it, and fluid needs a higher boiling point so the pedal stays firm when temperatures climb. When those three align, deposits don't streak and fade shows up later, not sooner. Here's your move. Measure thickness before buying parts. Inspect for real defects, not just color. Flush with quality high-temp fluid. Deglaze and rebed to rebuild an even film. Then change how you brake. Progressive pressure, avoid holding at a stop when hot, and give cooling space between hits. Next, we'll run street versus track pads back to back.